Neon is one of the best blends of art and engineering that there is, in my opinion, and it has been on my bucket list forever. So today I am here at the Museum of Neon Art, and we're gonna learn to bend some neon. I've been obsessed with neon ever since my Tesla coil days in college, because fun fact, if you hold a neon tube near a Tesla coil, it will glow. It's a beautiful blend of breakthroughs in physics and classic Americana debauchery. Not many things can have a fundamental role in the discovery of the electron, yet be most commonly associated with like strip clubs and dive bars.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and I'm the Electric Lab Manager and Instructor here at the Museum of Neon Art. This is our standard ribbon burner here. We're trying to make sure that the glass has as much integrity as possible, because when we go to process it, we're going to be putting like thousands of volts of electricity through there, and it has to be able to survive and withstand that.
Wait, hold on a minute. Did she just say thousands of volts of electricity? Neon signs work by filling a glass tube with a small amount of a noble gas, typically neon or argon. On each end is an electrode, and when you initially apply something like 15,000 volts to it, the electrons on that noble gas get so excited that they unattach from their base molecule and go zipping off, gaining speed and colliding with other atoms on their way. This is fundamentally plasma, and lucky for us, a byproduct of these electrons changing energy levels is that they release photons. But more on that when we get bombarding. Let's figure out how to actually just bend this glass first.
Let's just do a wide bend.
Okay.
Drop in, marks down, marks up, marks down, marks up. Getting our nice orange flare here. Keep it orange. You don't want to swing. You just want to like roll and flip it. Alright, so we're almost there. We're going to heat the outer part last. We're going to do a little wiggle, milk it. Bring it over to the screen. Nice. Drop it down. Yeah. Flatten it. Just a little tap and you're good. Cool. Beautiful. Woo, your first bend. How'd that feel?
Nice. Good. I feel like you did most of the work, so you didn't let me like really fuck it up the first time around. For my second attempt, I decided to try a tighter bend, since that's going to be a way more useful type of bend for this particular project. But man, it's way harder.
Okay. Outer bend last. Woo, come on. Blow, blow, blow. Nice. Wiggle. Milk it. Nice. Beautiful.
Oh no, I fucked it up.
It's okay. It's okay.
I twisted it. I feel like an ashamed student, like turning in my C- work.
No.
By the way, that orange flame you see is called a sodium flare, and it happens when the sodium in the glass vaporizes and glows a bright orange, which tells you that the glass is hot enough to start bending. I didn't twist it this time, but what happened?
Try the milking thing.
The milking thing? Okay.
Yeah.
You make it look like a dance.
It is like a dance.
I make it look really awkward.
That's probably has like a little too tight. Yeah, just a little.
All right, I'm gonna try a big one again to see, for a little redemption arc here. Joanne just told me that neon does not lend itself to perfection, and that it's good. I like to hear that. Do you frequently drool when you do this?
Sometimes the drool just goes into the glass. Yeah, just like drips down.
I was like, oh no, I think I'm drooling. Neon bending, much like many skills involved with making stuff, is like as much about muscle memory and just sheer practice as it is about knowledge and skill. And so the best thing I could do at this point was just get set loose in the fires for a little while and bend a whole bunch of different bends at a whole bunch of different angles and just try to get that feeling into my muscles. Every time I pick up the long ones, I just feel unworthy. Like, I don't want to waste glass. And then once I was getting the hang of the ribbon bender, Joanne set me loose on the crossfire, which is a very different kind of bending actually, and like a very different muscle memory. I ended up eventually liking the crossfire more, but I think first starting, it was a lot harder to get the hang of. Well, I would not say I am good at it. I would say that I'm starting to get a hang of it. I think the hardest ones are these like really tight bends. So I'll probably do a couple more of these. And then I feel like we're starting to get ready to make more expensive mistakes. Okay, so we just had lunch and now it's time to start trying my name.
I am a little worried because like I was getting cocky with all my bends, but as soon as you start stacking them together to try to follow a pattern, it gets way harder. So do you want to explain the pattern at all?
Yeah, in neon bending, especially when we're working with letters and words, the part that you're viewing is the flat side, so that's actually the side that's going to touch the table, which means that you're actually going to start bending the pattern backwards because you need to be able to lay it down flat.
I'm gonna screw this up so much.
No, I mean, well, also, yeah, everybody is going to on their first one. Don't forget to rotate.
Yeah, definitely fucked that up. I actually just deleted my whole brain at lunch.
It turns out that following a pattern is like exponentially more difficult than just bending willy-nilly random stuff. Who would have thought? But a big part of that is because the weight of the piece now is like all over the place and you have these wacky shaped objects that you have to somehow balance in the flame.
It's okay.
What'd I do? It was the previous bend, right?
Yeah.
As I made various repeated attempts at my name, one of the things that I realized is that it is in your best interest to start with the most difficult letter, because as soon as you screw up, you pretty much have to start over. So at this point in the process, I was still under the impression that the most difficult letter here was the Y, and that is because I had not yet even attempted the A.
My tube is getting shorter and shorter. Whoops. I liked starting in the middle of the Y instead of on one of the double backs. The double backs empirically should be the same as a tight U, and somehow they're harder.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Man, I really wish I had kept track of how many attempts it took me to get at least even just to Xyla. Not even Xyla, just Xyla.
Very squished. There it goes.
And because of the nature of neon, it really has to be one continuous piece of glass. You can weld them together, but only in certain spots depending on your pattern, and so I was really just shooting for like a straight run. But that's a lot of bends you have to get right in a row.
This is so hard. Never walk past a neon sign again without appreciating it. That's actually not that bad. This A is really challenging. Here was my first attempt at the A. It's like, okay. Now I have like a little scrap piece and I'm gonna try to figure out the technique to get the A down.
Something I've also seen some people do is they'll do this whole bend and these double backs all in one.
You ready for some chaos? That went better than I expected it would go. The all-in-one go.
Nice. Great job.
Attempt. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that is actually the way.
The thing with this strategy though is that it's pretty much impossible to do unless the A is the first bend that goes into a straight tube. So now I have to start over, all of my Xyls get thrown out and I have to start with the A and then work backwards to the X. Which means that by the time I get to the Y, I absolutely can't screw it up.
This is the end of day one. This was my last attempt of the day. This was my first attempt and second attempt of the day. Never walk past a neon sign without appreciating it. This is so hard. But each time I do it, it gets a little bit easier and like a little bit faster. So finally starting to get the hang of this shape. Crazy to me that people can just like bend neon that they've never bent before. It's such a cool skill. It's so cool. All right, fellow men. Who else hates cleaning this up every morning? The shaving parts, whatever. But it's what happens after. The skin irritation, the ingrown hairs, the razor burns. Pardon my French, but it all sucks. And most frustratingly, there's no way to prevent it, right? Enter Henson Shaving, the first shaving brand to focus on making razors for a skin-friendly shave. The Henson razor is made at their aerospace machine shop in Canada at the same level of precision that they used to make parts for the Mars rover and the ISS. The blade is built in at a 30-degree angle and extends less than the width of a human hair past the shave plane. That's like 1.3 thou. No more patching up nicks and burns at 7 a.m. when you're just trying to get to work. But most importantly, it's sustainable. There's no plastic whatsoever in the razor or the packaging, and the low-bend aluminum blade is recyclable. If you're ready to treat yourself to a skin-friendly shave, go to hensonshaving.com/Xyla and use code Xyla for 100 free blades with the purchase of a razor. Make sure both products are in the cart for that code to take effect. That is hensonshaving.com/Xyla and use code Xyla to get 100 blades free with the purchase of a razor if both products are in the cart. Thanks again to Henson Shaving for sponsoring this video. really hope that my hairdresser has room for me next week.
By the way, for anyone who lives in Los Angeles, this is a class you can take at the Museum of Neon Art, but because I'm filming, I didn't want to be that like annoying person at the public class filming, so I had to reserve the lab for myself, and I could only afford 2 days of it, so today is my last day to get it right.
Yeah, that looks great.
Puffed a lot more air into this one, and I didn't let it get as hot.
Oh, nice.
Okay, starting with the big one piece, because I'm like, if I screw it up, I fucked up the whole piece of glare.
But you didn't. No, you can cut off the part that you screwed up.
Okay. So the plan that we concocted for filming this video was day one, I would learn to bend before lunch, and then after lunch bend Xyla, which happened. And then day two, I would bend Foxlin. And Foxlin is like way more difficult because the O is the same as the A, followed immediately by an X, which is really difficult. And then the F has a lot of like double backs. It's a weird letter. And the thing you have to think about a lot with this is like the layers of glass, because the front layer is obviously the visible layer, that's like the letters themselves, but then letters like the X will have the first 2 layers are visible, and then for the lowercase x, you'll have to actually go to a 3rd layer.
This is such a delicate art, and it takes like one bad bend and you just like screw it all up. And with this one, I was like, man, the O and the X are really good. Even if I mess up, I could like weld 2 pieces together on the back of the, and then the L touched the X because my tube got caught in all the like garbage that was on the table. And now I have to start over again. Oh, here we go again. Here we go. Oh. Oh! Nope. It was too hot.
But like I said earlier, repetition helps the muscles develop the skill, and so I just kept trying and kept trying.
Foxhole.
Yeah, all of these bends look awesome, and especially right here in between like the front side and the back side, you can see like the circumference on all of these bends is the same, looking really good there, and everything is so close together. So I'd say this is a very skillful set of bends that Xyla did here. I am very impressed.
Yeah! I'm a teacher's pet to my core.
Foxhole.
I managed to not screw it up until I got to a point where this is like a backside that we're gonna have to weld together anyway. So now I get as many tries as I want on the I and the N, but man, I was really sweating. Like when I got the O and the X, I was like, I cannot screw any of this up because those 2 are so hard.
Yeah, those look great. These are great.
Oh,
I'm so impressed, Xyla.
It admittedly took me a couple attempts to figure out how I wanted to dot the I and make it look the closest to my signature, which is also my logo, but I did eventually get it, and the I in the end took me significantly less tries than any of the other ones.
Xyla has made her awesome first name here, and these bends all look really good, but this bend is giving me some concern, so we're gonna cut that off. This is like a backup piece, where these bends are a little too close for my comfort, but this bend looks great, so we're just gonna, take the front line of that X and then weld it onto her awesome piece here. So I've made some marks for where I'm gonna cut and weld. Make some marks here for like where I want these to connect. So when I join the tubes, I'm gonna try and join those black lines together. So first I'm gonna get both ends nice and hot. Now we're gonna join them together. There we go. So yeah, this back part is gonna be blocked out. So this weld, it'll hide the weld.
And then Joanne did the exact same thing to weld the foxhole and the in together on the little piece that connects them in the back. So again, it'll be hidden under blackout.
Oh my
Great
God.
job, Lynn. Yeah.
Ah, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
I'm sorry.
So now I'm gonna start to put electrodes on here. Now I'm gonna heat up the other end of this glass and try to match up their temperatures before I put them together.
And welding tubes and electrodes is a pretty high stakes activity that is not very beginner friendly. So students don't do their own welding at Mona. Joanne has a lot of hours and a lot of practice under her belt. And then it was time to decide on colors, which really was deciding on gas.
There's 3 ways that we get our colors in neon. The most common way is that there's a phosphor powder coating on the inside of the glass tubing. Different colors of phosphor powder coating can react differently with different gases. Probably the dimmest of all the gas colors is argon, which gives this really light purple, soft lavender look. This top unit is just straight neon gas. It's the original gas. Then the second unit here has argon mercury.
Now, a really interesting thing about adding a drop of mercury to these neon tubes is as they vaporize, it turns bluer. So with argon, it turns this teal. And the one to the right of that is a neon mercury. And it takes a lot longer for the mercury to vaporize. And so you get this cool, like, color changing bright red to blue over the course of it vaporizing.
I knew that was a thing, but I feel like whenever you see a neon sign in the wild, it's just been on for a while. So you don't have any idea of knowing, like.
Exactly. Most of the gases used out in the wild are either the bright neon, because it is the brightest out of all the gases, or the argon mercury. Because, you know, sometimes when we're making the commercial signage, we don't exactly want that color changing effect. So then the argon mercury is a nice bright gas combination that gives off UV.
I, however, am not commercial signage, and I actually think that the sign looks the coolest while it is in the process of changing colors. So I opted for neon mercury, which means that it starts off red, it goes into this like blotchy, reddish, bluish purple for a little while, and then it'll eventually be a very bright blue. And so you can see here how she's adding the drop of mercury, and that's all you need. That tiny little drop can turn the whole sign blue.
This is our bombarding manifold, which is made out of Pyrex. And when we say bombarding, we're heat sterilizing the inside of the tube with thousands of volts of electricity.
Joanne was kind enough to let us watch and film the entire bombarding process, and it is so cool. But if I included it in this video would be like 18 million hours long. So I have put a cut of that on my Offcuts channel, and I will link that down below. Highly recommend you check it out. But for now, here are some highlights of the process. A fun thing to note about this bombarding process is that it's crucial to maintain a really low gas pressure in the tube, because the electrons need enough space that they have time to like accelerate before they hit the next gas atom. So if the collision isn't energetic enough, you won't get visible light.
So this is going to continue to get redder as the piece ages, and so we're going to wait for it to get like completely red. And at that point, it'll be a good time to detach it from our transformer and let it cool down, and then we'll dump our mercury in. Beautiful.
So cool.
Looks so good.
So Joanne is helping me tape it down to cardboard so that it doesn't break on the way home, which would be potentially the most tragic thing that could happen. And then I go home and I have to mount it. 10 out of 10. Take this class at Mona. It's so cool. Thank you so much for all your help.
Of course,
I really
Xyla.
appreciate
It was such a pleasure. You were amazing.
So fun.
When it comes to mounting the neon, I overthought the heck out of it because I was so proud of the bending that I did. I wanted it to be on like a really nice mounting plate. The problem is that most people do acrylic, but acrylic is what fake neon is mounted to, like those like LED ones that you get on Amazon, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to look like real neon. So I did cut out like a kiss cut shape out of black acrylic, and I was holding it over and I just thought it looked really cheap and it looked really tacky. My friend Nico is visiting and it is a genius.
Hi.
I was like battling this and he just walked over with this wall control panel, and I think it's a great idea and we're gonna do it. Ready? With it working and I liked the layout that it was in, I did the final wiring, mounted the transformer box to the back of the wall control panel, and then it was time to test it and hang it. 100% on the way it's mounted, but you know, for now, works.